all of that burped out methane is just wasted nutrition from the feed. So if you can eliminate that reaction, you can make more energy available in the rumen for beneficial microbes to convert into nutrients for the cow. And we selected a single active ingredient, which is an organic chemical that prevents the growth of the microbes that make methane and frees up energy in the rumen for the beneficial microbes that make. Where we're also different in this space is our ability to deliver that active ingredient to animals that graze on pasture. So feed additive technologies, which is what we make, are traditionally very difficult to give to animals that eat grass because they're eating grass, right? The farmer's not actually feeding them anything. So we've formulated our active ingredient into a slow release capsule that does something called a bolus, which the cows swallow like a pill, and it stays in their stomach for 6 months and very slowly releases the active molecule.
We can paint this like a cartoon. There's a cow, let's say, called
Bessie. Let's call it Bessy.
Bessie. Yeah, Bessie is eating the grass, and then you work with the farmers.
Bessie's eating the grass, and she has a team of wonderful little helpers in her tummy that help her eat the grass and grow from that grass. But some of those little helpers are actually bad little helpers, and they're not very helpful at all. And they produce a nasty, stinky molecule, gas, that that Bessie burps into and then it's so heavy and so stinky that it kind of acts like a blanket around the planet.
You're listening to Bite-Sized Climate Tech, Season 4. Let's dive in.
Time to make climate cool again.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Lydia.
So nice to have you on the podcast. So Dr. Tom Williams is a synthetic biologist turned climate tech entrepreneur and co-founded Number8Bio, and now serves as a CEO, leading the development of how to help the cows and to help our climate at the same time. If you also want to add a few sentences about yourself.
Yeah, sure. I am a microbiologist by training. I was an academic at Macquarie University in Sydney, but I grew up in a little farming town in New Zealand where methane burped out of cattle was a really hot topic even when I was a little kid. And as I gained expertise in microbiology, I really couldn't think of a better space to invest my time in, because there's a really big climate impact that's directly connected to a productivity impact as well.
Poor cows. We heard about their news every day. So we're going to talk about enteric fermentation first, because that's the reason why we need to solve this. And then we go to talk about how your technology is helping this issue.
So enteric methane is a really incredible process that allows animals like cows to eat things like grass that people can't eat. And the way that they can do that is using a community of billions of microorganisms in the first stomach chamber that they have called the rumen. So those microbes help them break down tough to degrade materials like cellulose, which is what grass is made of, and they release nutrients for the cow to grow on. So, that part of it is incredible. Cows are amazing upcyclers. They can grow on stuff that humans would never eat, right? So they're very good in that regard. But enteric fermentation is not a perfect process, because around 10% of the nutrition in the food that they eat is actually wasted to the atmosphere in the form of methane, which is burped out of the rumen. And methane's a very potent greenhouse gas. It's 28-fold more potent than carbon dioxide at warming the atmosphere. All of that burped out methane is just wasted nutrition from the feed. So if you can eliminate that reaction, you can make more energy available in the rumen for beneficial microbes to convert into nutrients for the cow. Long story short, you can shut off a wasteful reaction that's warming the planet and redirect energy into more productivity for farmers.
This process is called enteric fermentation, and then you produce enteric methane. That's
exactly,
the name.
yeah.
You use your technology is called BetterFeed. How do you do that to help the cows?
Yeah, we took a very scientific approach to our product development. We screened around 5,000 different products in the lab using a process we invented, and then around 40 in live animal studies. And we selected a single active ingredient, which is an organic chemical that prevents the growth of the microbes that make methane and frees up energy in the rumen for the beneficial microbes that make nutrition. Where we're also different in this space is our ability to deliver that active ingredient to animals that graze on pasture. So feed additive technologies, which is what we make, are traditionally very difficult to give to animals that eat grass because they're eating grass, right? The farmer's not actually feeding them anything. So we've formulated our active ingredient into a slow release capsule that sits in the rumen for 6 months and slowly releases the active ingredient to prevent methane emissions while cattle roam freely on grass. We formulate into something called a bolus, which the cows swallow like a pill, and it stays in their stomach for 6 months and very slowly releases the active molecule.
That's very cool. What's
Yeah.
inside the pill?
The active ingredient that we call BetterFeed Pro. Technically speaking, our product is an organic small molecule that binds to an enzyme and prevents it from working so that the organism that has that enzyme can't grow anymore.
Okay, now I get it. So you have this little pill or something, and then the cows eat it, they'll stay in their stomach.
Yeah.
And then it slowly release these kind of molecule to bind it with the enzyme that's originally going to produce a lot of methane, but now cannot produce the methane. That's
Exactly. And
it
frees up
does
energy.
not.
They grow
The
better.
cows cannot feel anything, I guess. They just live in their life. I know that cows have 4 stomach, right? 4.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The first one's where all the magic happens.
Okay.
How would you explain this to an 8-year-old?
We can paint this like a cartoon. There's a cow, let's say, called this cow name, this cow called something.
Yeah, Bessy. Let's call it Bessy.
Bessie. Yeah, Bessie is eating the grass, and then you work with the farmers. You put some of your feed.
Bessie's eating the grass, and she has a team of wonderful little helpers in her tummy that help her eat the grass and grow from that grass. But some of those little helpers are actually bad little helpers, and they're not very helpful at all. And they produce nasty, stinky molecule gas that that Bessie burps into and then it's so heavy and so stinky that it kind of acts like a blanket around the planet and makes it too warm. And she doesn't get as much energy from her grass.
That's where your technology comes in.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have a special product that stops the bad helpers from doing their job and encourages the good helpers in her tummy to do their job. Like a prebiotic.
So it's like you give them something to eat. They sit in the stomach. So because they already have these little helpers, and then the thing that you added to it, it's kind of like mint or something like that. They bind it together with those little helpers. So then the little helpers just become lazy, I guess.
Yeah. If you wanted a really inaccurate but kind of easy to understand analogy, it might be that, the cow has some bad breath from something in her tummy. So we give her a mint and we stop the bad breath and, help her eat more grass. I don't know, breaks apart.
Are they actually burping or it's farting? It's burping.
It's actually burps, yeah.
It's actually burps.
It's actually burps. It would be more entertaining if it was farts, but it's not.
Awesome. So now you're going to answer a question from a previous guest. Her question is, if you could write a very short playbook, 5 steps on how to bring the technology that you are developing from TRL2 to TRL 6 or 7, what would you do?
Right. So for anyone who isn't familiar with TRLs, that stands for Technology Readiness Level, and 2 it means you've probably got an idea that you've done a bit of desk research on, and 6 or 7 means it's close to full maturity and you've got it working in a real world environment, but you haven't scaled up yet.
Yeah.
So a 5-step guide to progress from TRL2 to 7. Step 1 would be to do lots of market research and have lots of potential customer conversations and do customer discovery to work out if you've actually solved a problem, and not just solved a problem from a scientific standpoint, but a problem that someone has a burning need and that they'll pay for, like a really urgent problem. Because if you don't have that, then your technology will fail. That's a trap that I think a lot of scientists fall into. They find something that works in theory, but the world doesn't want. So step number 1, do that. If you find they don't have a burning need for it, then throw that TRL2 idea out the window and make something else. However, if you find there is a burning need for it, then to get from TRL2 to 7, in my opinion, depending on what the actual technology is, but in my field, I have to deal with extraordinary biological complexity, and I have a long history in engineering effectively within that complexity. And the way to deal with biological complexity is to try as many things as you possibly can, because nobody fully understands biology yet. Humanity has an incomplete understanding. And the way to win in that space is to have as many shots on goal as possible. So I would work out what matters for the technology and then design a high throughput testing system for that technology, and then screen thousands and thousands of different versions of the technology to find something that works. Then the rest of it's pretty simple after that. You just go to higher and higher proof to test that it is still working. But I think those first 2 steps are the most critical to find something that customers want and then screen the crap out of it so you find a superior product.
In your field, is there a difference between something that's working in a lab or before you go to quite mature in real life environment, or is it the same? I think that's also like from TRL5 to 7. That's part of the struggle most of the other people are dealing with.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. So, it's quite easy to get a technology that decreases methane emissions in the lab.
Yeah.
There are many things that will do that, but there are not really many things that you can produce for less than 5 cents per cow per day that can be scaled to millions of doses with limited capital expenditure, that are safe, that don't transfer into the meat of the animals that consume them, and that give a productivity boost in an animal, make it grow faster or make it produce more milk. So there's a massive chasm between lab and actually working at a high TRL in my field.
What's your TRL level now?
We're probably like 5, almost 6.
Yeah. So that's your next step, right? You are already in a real world experience.
Yes. Yeah. We've had very successful trials with university partners in live cattle and sheep and dairy animals. And we're progressing into more of a commercial setting at the moment, like a real world setting.
Awesome. How many cows you've worked with so far?
I'm not sure, actually. Not that many. Yeah, these studies are very expensive. Total wouldn't be more than a couple of hundred, something like that.
That's already a lot of cows. Can you leave a question for the next guest?
Yeah, mine won't be as precise or as elaborate. That was a really good question, though. I like that. Mine is quite simple. What are you not doing in your life at the moment that you really wish that you were, and why?
That's not a scientific relevant question, but we'll keep that one. Great.
Do you want it to be a science one?
Because I interview all the climate tech people.
How about, what do you think needs to be true for us to avoid climate catastrophe in the next 5 years?
Maybe I'll ask 2 of those. Very good. The next segment is, why did you decide to work in climate tech?
I feel like I always have. Like, I was really drawn to the biology for 2 reasons. One is to just better understand life because I was curious and I liked it. And the other was that I realized from quite a young age that microorganisms can have a profound impact on the climate, and that humans are getting a better control and a better understanding of microorganisms. So that's why. And then, more emotionally, it's hard to get deeply concerned about the climate on a day-to-day basis. I think not that many people actually feel like that.
Yeah.
But intellectually, I'm aware that, we're on the cusp of a terrible future, let's say. We're not going to go extinct, but if we go above 3 degrees of warming by 2100, there will be like an economic collapse and a lot of people will die. And my kids, I have 2 young kids, they, barring disaster, will be alive in this period. And I don't like the thought of, them inheriting a world like that. So yeah, more selfishly, I like complexity and I like science and I like working on something important, but more meta level.
Do you have an origin moment? You mentioned when you were a kid in New Zealand. Do you remember any specific moment you were like, I need to solve this problem? Or it's just a gradual process that you think you end up working in climate? Yeah,
this specific Number8Bio and enteric methane was more of a gradual process. Before founding the company, I was thinking about the problem in the back of my mind for probably 15 years or something like that.
Oh, wow. Since
I thought it was a fun problem space.
Right. We're going to close the podcast with 1 sentence of hope to our audience. What's your 1 sentence of hope?
Humans have incredible potential, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Amazing. You're the first guest who doesn't need to think about that. It just came out of you. Let's make
climate
cool again.
Cool again.
Yeah. Thank you so much.